Hey, Scott Jordan and Mark Warner here for Jancast number 165 for Thursday, March 21st, 2024. Hey, Mark, how's it going?
Hey, we're doing good. We have a guest with us today,
Yes, I
too.
see.
Mr. the one and only Honorable Michael Gabrialson. And a little bit more about Michael later. Thanks for joining us, though, Michael.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
yeah, yeah. So what have you been doing for the last couple of weeks? We had that great show on the ATM meters and all that, and then the one before that, the electrostatic show. I mean, we're burning up the internet with all these
I'm,
Jancasts, you know?
yeah, millions and millions of followers and downloads. I mean, we're lucky we don't just kind of shut down the entire internet with the amount of activity with Jancast.com. But yeah, I mean, the last couple of weeks, last Jancast, all of our listeners know we kind of put a blurb out there that we've been traveling a lot. So, although before I get into where I've been doing some training and I've been doing some shows. But before I get into that, Scott, the more exciting level of travel had to do with people doing sailing on foiling boards
Yeah,
in other parts of the country. Who am
yeah.
I thinking of?
I don't know, but I was walking into Buc-ee's the other day after I filled my gas up in the RV at one of the 80 pumps there, and somebody said, "Are you Scott Jordan that does that Jancast show?" And I was like, "Wait, I'm in Daytona Beach, Florida," and people calling me out for Jancast. It was very impressive. The guy cutting the barbecue said, "I know you. I saw that show on the ATM meters. It was fantastic."
I know, and I have trouble like evading the paparazzi all the time. They like stake out my
Yeah.
house and my car.
Yeah. So I've been
Sure.
traveling. Those of you that know me, I have a Airstream trailer that I've had for quite some time, and I occasionally go out on the road. And I was down in Florida for a couple weeks, and I do this weird foiling sport thing that if anybody wants to look it up, do a search for wing foiling. That'll give me an idea. It's taken me a long time, but it was a lot of fun. And I was doing some product testing while I was on this trip. We're developing a new product for cleaning dishes, which I think is perfect for the RV market. Because, if you have been in an RV before, one of the problems is you have to control your wastewater, they call it the black tank and the gray tank. The black's the stuff from your bathroom, like your toilet. And then there's gray water, which is your general cleaning stuff, your sink and your kitchen. So any way you can reduce the amount of water you use is a really big thing with RVs, or same thing on boats as well. You pointed out, Mark, that same thing on boats. So I've been working with a new product that you spray your things you're going to clean first, let them soak, and then you scrub it a little bit, and then all you have to do is rinse. So you're not filling up a big sink full of water and all that. So aside from my foiling thing, and this enables me to write the whole trip off because I'm doing product testing while I'm down in Florida, and I approve my own bills. So, hey, who's going to question it, right? So it's perfect scenario. So yes, I'm back from my trip. It was very, very nice. Other than the fact that I was driving down when everybody else was driving down to Daytona Bike Week. So I did not go to Bike Week, but I was there with the 500,000 other bikers going through Daytona, though. So that's what I've been doing, Mark. What have you been doing?
Other than doing some training stuff, I mean, it's springtime and that's when everybody wants that. So
Yeah.
But really, I had just gotten back from being involved in Baltimore Convention Center.
Mm-hmm.
Attended the NFMT Clean Buildings Conference show, which was on March 12th and 13th. And that was awesome. Actually, NFMT stands for National Facility Management and Technology Show. And the Clean Buildings Conference is kind of a piece of that. They're all kind of sharing the same venue on the same days. So they share the same audience. And it was awesome. The audience is a little different from what we normally see from like an ISSA show. This particular audience, attendees, were really all facility managers, very oriented towards technology, cleaning being maybe one slice of the pie that they really have full responsibility for. So in some ways, not all that particularly knowledgeable about some of the state-of-the-art things in the cleaning industry. So it made for a lot of conversation. And Michael is the one that put it all together. And that's kind of why we wanted to have Michael on the show. Michael is essentially the driver of the Clean Buildings Conference. Did you like how I put that, Michael? The driver, he's at the helm.
One of the many
I
drivers.
know.
If
I
you
knew
could
you were going to
imagine,
say
right?
that because you're humble. But the formal title is National Sales Manager. But we all know who has their hands on the wheel. Let's just say it.
Yeah.
The helmsman's the one steering the boat. So with all that, I know you put all that together through your association with Trade Press Media. And a little background is that Michael and I met while we were both engaged with working for the ISSA. And we got to hang out quite a bit, didn't
Yeah.
we?
Yeah, I had the honor of working with you, Mark, and at the association itself, and under Scott's leadership as well, while his time at the board, and
Thank you.
wonderful time there, and got to really know the industry that it is, and learn from the best like you and Scott, actually. So
Wow, that was a really kind
privileged.
thing to say. I guess wow, we can't say all negative stuff now because you just complimented
Well
us,
done.
but-
Well done.
So what was
No,
your
you're good,
take
you're
of
good.
the show? I mean, I thought it was a great show
Yeah.
and
So Mark,
very
it was like a relaunch, right, Mark? So back in 2019, when we launched this Clean Buildings, at the time Clean Buildings Expo, the concept was we recognized a little gap in that part of the world, and in that market, and so we launched this Clean Buildings, this event with educational component and training component that you're so familiar with, along with an end user focused event where these brands and service companies and people who want to enter the marketplace have an opportunity and a platform to reach out to those end users, whether they're business owners on the contracting side or in-house providers on across a lot of different types of facilities. And so, like you said, it was in sync with our facility management audience. There's a lot of synergy that you guys, I'm sure, are even aware of. That with those two audiences, it just created a really nice, positive environment for people to do business together, and that's really our goal. Yeah.
I loved the fact that geographically it had a great pull from New York City, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. I met folks actually from Pittsburgh and Harrisburg and some folks from Richmond. But, the big
Massachusetts, one of
draw,
our customers, right?
yeah, from Springfield, Massachusetts, even. Yes.
Oh,
So,
great. Yeah, I think definitely heavily concentrated in the locally, but we did get all 50 states represented, which was kind of neat as well. Having a whole national kind of vibe and opportunities that can come nationally, but definitely with the DC market being so there and so easy to get to, that was another. Government was a huge component of those events.
Now all 50 states. You mean
Yeah.
Hawaii and Alaska?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
We didn't bring this up in the pre-show discussion, but is there any possibility that now that this is back up and running, you're going to do maybe other regional areas so that
it's
kind of go
we're going to
back to the
focus on the
old-fashioned
one.
way?
Yeah, I think we're going to focus on this one and make it a successful and valuable event.
Okay.
And then if there's definitely opportunity, like our NFMT event, we have one in the fall and one in the spring. So we do have a NFMT event in the West Coast.
Oh,
So
okay.
definitely an option that could, as this grows and is successful, for sure. But we want to focus on making this one event valuable and in a positive experience. And then definitely an opportunity if there is there. So
maybe you could get it tied in with the F1 race in Dubai.
yeah. Oh, international. Now there we go. We do partner well with the Interclean team, and we see some opportunities there. With the Trade Press, the owner is owned by a German company, so there's definitely an international component that could essentially come out in the future.
Yeah, that show's coming up in May. That's one
that would be fun.
Historically, we exhibited it at Bullen exhibited that show before ISSA hooked up with them, probably 30 years ago.
Sure.
Unfortunately, the EU's passed a lot of requirements for chemical manufacturers. It makes it very difficult for us to be able to even get product into the European Union. So
sure.
It's still a great
I have
show.
20-year-old pictures of you holding up an Amstel and pointing at it.
Yeah.
The background of Amsterdam.
Yeah.
So
Can't beat that one. So
Yeah.
overall, the attendance was good and everything you anticipated.
Yeah, you could always go bigger and better, but I think what I've heard from Mark and a lot of the other exhibitors, the quality was there, and
Yeah,
that's really a focus, I think, in trade shows moving forward.
yeah,
It cut the noise a little bit for those heavily invested exhibitors, and even give a better experience for those attendees as they're not fighting through the trinket picker uppers and the tire kickers, right? Like there's some serious decision makers on our show floor on both sides that
yeah.
was really nice to see.
I have a quick question for you that I think you're probably very well equipped to answer. And that is, a lot of questions happened when COVID came along in 2020. Everything closed down. And the big question was, there were a lot of paranoia about people gathering in groups. And we're seeing a lot of that trending to come back. And I'm kind of very curious about, how you feel about face-to-face trade shows in general and what their future looks like. I imagine you're going to
Yeah.
say it looks rosy, but kind of want more of a, an insider's kind of view of what we went
Mhm.
through
Yeah.
Yeah.
in 2020 to now and what it took to build up this confidence in
Yeah, it
people.
was one of the, I mean, many out there of the industries that was completely decimated globally, right?
Yeah.
Like everything went to zero. And so on the show organizer side, there's a lot of, fine lines that you got to walk in terms of dollars and here and there. And so that was one component, but I think the biggest component that we were able to overcome as a culture and as that world of trade shows is, it took a while for people to be comfortable to get back. But I think, with, leadership of organizations and the members of ISSA that did their best to, do things like you guys are doing to educate people of like, hey, it can be safe. And
Mhm.
it's very valuable to have that interaction on a face-to-face level. And to me, like, I've been in the trade show world for, 10 some odd years, and it's essential. The virtual stuff just is not the same. I think everyone can agree to that. There's a value, to that, but Mark, when we're out there having a drink at the happy hour and just kind of, you know, expanding, off the show floor conversations, right? And,
Yeah.
having conversations like that. And that's where the value of those types of positive activities lie. And so I think it's going to take a few more years, but I don't think it's going to be those mega shows, those mega trends immediately. Like what I've been hearing a lot from, the people who are engaged with our live activities is these more intimate events are way more valuable. I think it shrinks the lead time and the sales cycle, and
Mhm.
it closes that gap much faster. And so if we can show that you can do it safely, with being a clean buildings conference, I think that's helpful.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just going to build and grow, and I do see a lot of opportunity and the attendees are coming out because they do want that education, and it's hard to do that face to face and get to see that Mark Warner in action and a train the trainer spot. And so it was lovely to have a full house, Mark, and you just command that room as you always did. So I think it's bright future for live events. I think ISSA has done a really great job in bringing it back into those big shows and doing it safely. But I see a lot of opportunity and growth in live events for sure.
And the attendees seem to have overcome their reluctance that they were feeling
Yeah.
about going to events like this. I talked with a bunch of people about that while I was at the
Sure.
show, just in random conversations. And some people were like, yeah, this is kind of like my first or second show I've been to since the world closed in
Hmm.
2020. And
Yeah.
so what do you think? Wow, this is great. And I'm glad to be back out. It feels more alive. And
Yeah.
and as you put it, everything has its place, but when you're doing things virtually, it's a little more formal. And when you're involved with face-to-face conversations, it's a little bit more informal, and you get to talk about random things that might be more personal in nature, but it gives you that whole bonding and closeness that it's difficult to get when you're doing
Yeah.
purely a virtual thing, except if you're a guest on Jancast.com, which is, of course, the leader of
Well,
all
I was
this
gonna
stuff.
say, so I don't know about Scott, but like when I'm in face to face, your guard is kind of down a little bit,
Yeah.
and but here my guard was down immediately when I stopped on with you guys. So
Well, it's because
Great.
we're all old friends. Well, what do you see happening in the next couple of months? I mean, obviously, we're at a change in seasons, literally,
Yeah.
and we're, it's in many ways that changes. That's a seasonal mentality change too in
yep,
businesses.
yep.
What do you see
Schools are
coming?
going on spring break. My children, we're gonna go spend some time down in St. Louis, check out the arch. But I think I'm cleaning. I've got 3 young kids, and the seasons change. We got sports events happening, and people getting outside and things like that. But I know I've got some work to do to get out of that Christmas funk.
Well, I know, Scott, you were tracking the exact minute and second of the literal equinox.
Well, it
That
was just a couple days ago at 11:06 p.m. Yep, yep. So we're officially in spring. Get the suntan lotion out. We're all ready for the summer. It's coming
did you
right after
guys?
it.
Yeah, did you guys see the study from the American Cleaning Institute? Like they were saying that more than any time in the history of mankind or the history of Jancast, 10% more people actively engaged in thoughts about cleaning. Just as Michael brought it up, it's I guess they survey every human being on planet Earth, and when they come up with their numbers, it's 10% higher than it's ever been in the past. So that's kind of cool, right? So
Yeah,
everybody's
Yeah.
thinking about it. I know on our end, Scott, because it's all really commercial, everybody's
yeah,
what I get from people is a focus on things that took so much abuse during the winter.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
their floors, it's the hard floor care, it's the carpet care, and
Ice melt,
all,
salt, all that
yeah,
stuff.
everything
Yeah,
tracking in, getting embedded, and like what better time to do it but than spring, because it's taken all that abuse all winter long. And the hard floor care issue is something that people are pretty knowledgeable about. We're
yeah,
getting a lot of questions about funky floors. That's a technical term, Michael. Funky
yeah,
floors,
Funky
like
floors.
yeah, brand new floors like LVT that have a factory wear layer on it instead of a topical coating like floor finish.
yeah,
And a lot of people are getting discoloration from that, and they don't know why, and they don't realize that it's not an arena for a neutral cleaner. You need something with a little more punch. So that's part of what we're spending our time talking about. But more than anything, Scott, is
yeah,
people are trying to deal with their carpeting and the traffic lanes and
yeah.
all that stuff. And, that's the biggest gap out there. Michael, when I'm doing training classes, I survey people like, what's your schedule for interim care on carpet? And they give me a 2-word answer. It's called, wait, what?
But what's the
I
general,
need to schedule that.
what's
And,
the general statement on carpet care is if it looks dirty, it's too late.
it's
It's
too
too
late.
late. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's kind of the arena that low moisture carpet cleaning kind of broke into several decades ago, with ways of managing traffic lanes and heavy duty spots without getting into wall to wall extraction. And
Yeah,
that's the biggest gap out there. So, as Jancast.com, maybe we throw it out there. It's just kind of
yeah.
that's what all the conversations are. So,
We got the products if you need them.
well, now that was the blatant product plug right there. We call that the BPP. But
One
I
of
Exactly.
my
was trying
I
to
must
kind of
say,
leave
guys.
this
Yeah.
generically.
One of my favorites is the mitt. One of my
There you
favorites is the
go.
mitt.
The
There you
mighty
go.
mitt.
Nice. Thanks for that endorsement.
Yes, I
Yeah,
love that thing.
nicely done.
Wow, good
Gosh,
way to end it.
yeah, he could end up being
Okay, we
another
could just
guest.
stop right there. We got an endorsement. Well, thanks very much for joining us. And great, even though I didn't get to go to the show, Mark and Steve DeVito, who worked it for the
Yeah.
Bullen people, spoke very highly of it. It's nice that it was close too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah,
excellent. Well,
enjoyed
thank you
it.
very much for joining us. Anything you want to say signing off there before you go back to cleaning?
Not much. Thank you for having me
Yeah,
again. Always a pleasure. And next year we'll hope to see some of you guys and some of your listeners at Clean Buildings March 25th and 26th,
yeah. Maybe
2025.
we'll do a Jancast from the show floor like
Hey,
we've
I
done
love it.
before.
Yeah,
Great idea.
make it
Yes.
happen. Yeah.
All of
Thanks,
our
guys.
Jancast.com listeners can weigh in on whether they think that would work well. And we could end up with a live audience there too. Wouldn't that
Yeah.
be
There you go.
cool?
Yeah.
That's
Anyway,
cool.
thanks everybody for tapping
Yeah.
in. Appreciate it.
y'all.
Michael, thanks for joining us, and we'll catch
Have
you.
a
care,
good
guys.
rest of the week. See y'all.